Hi, my name is Kristen Roll, and I'll be walking you through Check It Out. Before we get started, please make sure that you have a copy of the Instructor Notes and Student Workbook on hand or open in a separate browser window. You can access these materials through the Resource Library or request a set from our office. Additionally, these materials will be sent to you when you actually sign up to deliver a set of lessons. If you haven't done so already, it's essential that you watch the Getting Started module before going into the classroom. It covers everything you need to know regarding the structure of the Money Sense program, the materials, how to administer the surveys and evaluations, and how to kick off the lessons with the students. Additional information is also available in your Instructor Notes. As a reminder, the Instructor Notes are full of a lot of useful features to help you be successful in the classroom. The left side has screenshots of all of the slides, and the right side has all of the discussion notes and facilitation directions that pertain to the slides. There's also a space for you to take notes and prep stories that you'd like to tell. The bottom of each page has a suggestion for a transition statement to help you move from one set of concepts to the next. Be sure to review each page of the Instructor Notes before you volunteer in the classroom. There's a lot of helpful information in there to assist you in delivering the lesson as smoothly as possible. Now let's walk through all the slides in the Prezi presentation. The Check It Out lesson is all about financial institutions and managing accounts. We cover everything from how to choose a financial institution, how to open an account, and how to manage an account responsibly. We also have a section on identity theft. We begin each lesson with pre-surveys. Instructions on how to administer the pre-surveys are in the Getting Started module and in your Instructor Notes. If you don't receive pre-surveys in the packet of materials you receive for your lessons, then you do not need to administer them and you can skip over this section. As with all of our lessons, we start first with a discussion of what the students will accomplish by participating. We want to make sure that they understand the value of engaging with the lesson and with you. The first concept we discuss is whether your money is even safe in a bank or credit union. This might be a new concept for a lot of the students, and they might not know that their money is actually insured when it's in a bank account. Use this slide to briefly discuss the FDIC and NCUA. Next, we get into how you choose a bank or credit union. As you can see from the yellow icon in the top right corner, there's a pencil there with the number 2, and that means that the students should be using their student workbook during this part of the lesson. As you advance the slide, you'll see that it zooms into each of the questions of what they'll want to research. Ask the students what they think it's important to research with regard to this question, and after you've gotten a few answers, advance the slide and fill in any details they may have missed. The next section goes over fees that they should think about when evaluating different institutions. Now let's look at the student workbook and see how it all comes together. On page 2 of the student workbook, they have a table that lists out all of the same questions as were on the slides. As you discuss each question, you'll want them to fill in the box with 1 or 2 things that they want to prioritize when they choose their financial institution. Make sure to tell them not to copy down every word on the slide because that'll take way too much time. Next, we move into a discussion on overdraft protection. We want to make sure that all of the students understand that they should opt out of overdraft protection to ensure that they aren't charged extra fees. This is going to seem counterintuitive to the students, so you'll want to make sure to discuss the difference between opting in and opting out and make sure that they understand this concept before moving forward. To help illustrate the concept, we have an example here of what can happen if someone's not paying attention to their account balance. And as you can see in this example, the person paid $110 for things that only should have cost $30. This is the lesson we want to make sure that they understand that they don't want to be charged overdraft fees just for the convenience of being able to purchase things when they don't have the money in their account. Next, we discuss how you open an account and the documents that you'll need. After that, we start our discussion on check cashing stores. Check cashing stores are really common in urban areas, and in some communities, it's the only place to access convenient financial services. We want to make sure that students understand that using a bank or credit union can actually help them save money over a check cashing store. To start this section off, we have a video. You can just hover over it and click to get it to start to play. Then we have an example. Walk the students through this scenario. Their paycheck is $150 and they get it cashed at the store every week for about $8. That means they're paying $384 a year just to access their own money. Reinforce the concept that depositing that check into a checking account is free and ask them what they would do with an extra $384 every year. Next, we move into a section about how to use their account and access their money. We start by explaining what debit cards are. Then we introduce check writing. As you can see, we've got another icon up in the corner, which means that this is a student activity. The students have a blank check in their workbook. You'll want them to use the information on this slide to learn how to fill out the check correctly. They can make it out to anyone for anything, but the check amount does need to be $85.96. After they've filled in the check, you'll advance the slide and point out all of the different key aspects. Then, in their workbooks, they'll go through and label all of these important parts. Here's the page that they'll be filling out in their workbook. Next, we try to make sure that they understand that routing and account numbers are still important even though checks are not as common. Discuss 3 common uses for this information: direct deposit, bill payments, and wire transfers, and have them copy this information into the bottom of page 3 in their workbooks. And you can see the spot below the blank check where they should fill that information in. Wrap up this conversation by making sure they understand how sensitive these numbers are and that they need to keep them under lock and key. From there, we move on to other ways that they can send and receive money from their checking account. These are all different person-to-person payment apps, and the students are going to be very familiar with these. This is the way that most of them send and receive money and manage IOUs among their friend groups. These apps are really convenient, but there are also some concerns we want to make sure that they understand. Ask the students what they think the benefits and concerns are before putting the answers up on the screen. Next, we move to ways to access money that aren't connected to a checking account. Prepaid cards are up first. These cards are becoming more common, and many of the students actually get paid using these cards. We want to make sure that students understand that even though these look exactly like debit cards, they aren't actually connected to a bank account, and there's a lot of fees and inconvenience that come with using them. After that, we discuss credit cards. You don't need to spend a lot of time here, especially if the students will be getting the 2-year credit lesson next, but we do want to make sure that they understand that credit cards are like taking out a loan, that they aren't connected to a checking account, and they're not the same thing as prepaid debit cards. To wrap up this section, we have another activity. On the top of page 4, there's a blank table. This activity is really simple. All we need them to do is take the payment method and put it under the right category, either connected to their checking account or not connected to their checking account. It's another way to make sure they really understand the difference. This is also the end of part 1 of Check It Out. If you're delivering a 2-part lesson, you'll want to collect the name tents and workbooks and have the educator hold on to them until the next time that you're in the classroom. If you don't get this far by the end of your first session, that's okay. You can just pick up wherever you left off the last time. If you're delivering a 90-minute lesson, you'll move right on to the next slide. Part 2 of Check It Out is all about managing your account responsibly. The first concepts that we introduce are current balance versus available balance. You can ask the students if they know the difference between these 2 terms, and then bring up the definitions. You can see the yellow icon down in the bottom corner of the screen. In this case, there is no activity, but we did put these definitions into their workbook to make sure that they really understand them, because this can be kind of a confusing concept for them. After that, we discuss pending transactions a little bit more. And then we have them think about other things to consider when they're making decisions about their spending. That includes checks that they've written to other people that haven't been cashed yet, as well as other upcoming automatic payments that they may have scheduled. At this point, we discuss different ways to monitor your checking account and introduce online and mobile banking. Use this infographic to talk about some of the common online and mobile banking features. As you can see, there's an icon with the number 5. In this situation, this infographic is replicated in their student workbook. It's larger so they can see everything, but they don't actually have to do an activity with this. So as you progress through the slides, you'll see that it zooms into each section. The next topic that we talk about is what happens if you don't monitor your checking account and you overdraft or misuse it. Introduce the check system database and make sure that they understand that if they make too many mistakes managing their accounts, they might have difficulty opening new accounts in the future. Discuss these tips for staying out of check systems. These are all things that were discussed earlier in the lesson. Next, we move into our final section on identity theft. Before advancing to the next slide, ask the students if they know what identity theft is. After getting some answers, show them the definition. Discuss the common ways that identity thieves steal your information. Let them know it can happen in real life through mail that's discarded improperly or documents that are left out, or even by people trying to scam them by mail or phone. Then discuss the ways that their identity can be stolen online. Here we've got another activity on page 6. Have the students quickly skim this slide, which is also in their student workbook, and see if they can guess the 3 missing words. In the workbooks, the words are listed out, but the letters are all scrambled. You don't need to spend a ton of time on this activity, but we want to make sure that the students are still alert and engaged and ready to write down notes. After they've made some guesses, you can advance the slide and show them the answers. Next, you can discuss these tips on how to stay safe online. Using private networks and secure websites, as well as password best practices, are the most important tips we want to drive home. To sum up this section, we have another video. Then we have additional identity theft tips, which are also listed in their workbooks. As with the other lessons, Check It Out ends with the Go Do It Now checklist. As you advance the slide, it zooms into each section. Make sure the students spend a little bit of time going through the checklist and deciding which steps they want to take next. If there's enough time, have them share out. At this time, you'll want to distribute and then collect back the post-surveys. If you still have additional time left over in the class period, consider playing Personal Finance Jeopardy! The students really love it. All the instructions and everything you need to know are in your instructor notes. That's it for Check It Out. Next, we'll talk about 2-year credit.